Hi, I'm Liz Shannon Miller, and welcome to Cord Cutters.
I'm Ryan Lawler.
And I'm Janko Rutgers. And the three of us are here together in the studio today because yesterday was our annual NewTeeVee Live conference. And we talk about how the space changes for online video and television there, and the big subject was cord cutters, right?
Yeah, a lot of our audience came up to us during the show, after the show, talked about how they had cut the cord, and a lot of the presenters, had mentioned it over the course of the day.
It actually got mentioned so much that we started joking about a drinking game on stage. Unfortunately, I don't think we ever got like those 30 shots that we were owed by the end of the day.
We could have been under the table by the end of the day, or probably by noon, by that rate of the dropping of the term cord cutters. But yeah, some of the companies who mentioned it, I thought it was interesting because there was, of course, this big debate whether it's going on or not. And on the no side, Google TV came down, which is interesting. We talked about the Google TV devices here before, and we said, they're not really that great for cord cutters. And that's kind of something they echoed there. They said, that's not really our target audience. We really want to address people who like cable and want to enhance their cable experience.
Mm-hmm. Right. At the same time, I think Google TV is trying to play nice with the broadcasters. They're trying to play nice with the cable companies.
So what you're saying is they're not going to go on a stage at a major corporate event and say that cable companies should go to heck.
Now all 4 major broadcasters have blocked access to their content through Google TV. And, if they're going to win them back, they kind of have to show how, they can make it work with cable companies, with the broadcast networks.
On the other hand, what Google TV says is, we're all about the content that you can't get on television, on the web content. And we had a couple of those guys out there as well, of course, YouTube being one of them. They had some pretty big announcements there, right?
Yeah, 35 hours of footage being uploaded to YouTube every minute. I can't even imagine how many people are getting hit in the groin right now. I just can't. But it's
how many cats, right?
How many cats? Well, I can, and it's a wonderful place to be. But I think the big takeaway from the YouTube presentation was that they have so much content. There's so much content available, and they're working really hard to make it accessible to all devices, including televisions. And I think for cord cutters looking for something to watch, it's a huge boom. Whether or not they want to watch, professional content that's been uploaded by companies, they want to watch maybe bootleg content that's been uploaded by users, or if they want to watch professionally produced stuff that's been created by YouTube creators who are now making 6-figure salaries with their content.
And speaking of professional content, another company that we had there was Hulu, of course, and they had a couple of announcements too. They talked about the revenue, which is interesting for all of us here in the business. We say, $240 million. That's a great number. But what was really interesting is that they had 30 million people watching their content in October, and that's, of course, a big number. One has to ask how many of those people are cord cutters or who are looking at cutting the cord.
Mm-hmm. And I think what's really exciting is that, we saw so many connected devices yesterday as well from various startups in the space, and all of them are approaching. Whether or not they're approaching the creation of whether or not they're approaching getting content online, getting online content through a box, through an application, through a browser. All of them are thinking about this question of there is so much content available. How do we get people to find it? The question of discoverability came up a whole lot. And how do we get people to watch it? And I think we're going to see a lot of innovation in that space over the next year because, as we keep talking about, cord cutting is a real thing.
Yeah, and being everywhere was a big topic as well. I talked to Brian Perez from NBA Digital, and as a sports league, they want to be everywhere their fans are. So they want to be on mobile, they want to be on connected devices like Roku. They're going to be on Samsung next, and they're trying to reach all the 5 major CE manufacturers, TV makers by the end of the season. Now, of course, at the same time, they have to try to reach the fan where they are, but also do it in a way that respects the cable networks and the broadcasters that have paid for the rights to that content. So it's kind of a shaky line for them to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found interesting as well is when we have this discussion always, is people are asking, well, is mainstream America really ready for cord cutting? Well, first of all, it seemed like a lot more people there were actually cord cutters than I would like to admit it on stage. People were coming to us afterwards and said, I work for a cable company, but before they got my free cable, I was also a cord cutter. It was kind of interesting. But it was also interesting, there was one talk that was just about interface and how complicated some of those interfaces are from these new devices. One example was this remote control for the Google TV from Sony, the Sony Internet TV, and has 67 buttons, or maybe it's 2,400. I can't exactly remember the number, but something like that. And somebody threw out the acronym, you got to be effing kidding me for this. Because it's just so complicated and that so doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And solutions just have to be simpler for people to actually do this step.
Yeah, you don't want to have the Logitech Review keyboard in your lap as your remote control. It's just not intuitive. It's not a good user interface.
Well, I think one can argue about that because people are, of course, used to having now laptops on their lap all the time when they watch TV. So they are used to having lots of devices, and they're very comfortable with tweeting, with searching, with doing all these things while they're watching TV. And so I used the Google TV device, and I thought the keyboard didn't really bother me that much. There was other things that didn't work for me, but the keyboard I was pretty okay with.
I think the important thing, though, is that design and user interface, those are make it or break it questions, and they aren't enough on the agenda, I think. I think talking about interface is so important because that is what mainstream America connects with. Like, my grandmother does not care about the value of Google TV as a, cord-cutting device. My grandmother cares about whether or not she can watch television on it. I think when we're talking to these people who are cord cutters, like, we're seeing more and more people who aren't necessarily as technologically savvy. We've gotten in so many amazing stories from people who have cut the cord or thinking about cutting the cord. We get, every time we write about cord cutting on NewTeeVee, we get people commenting to tell their stories. So, and that's just something we want more and more of.
Right. So if you want to be on Cord Cutters, if you want to share your story, send an email to us at cordcutters@gigohm.com, or you can follow us on Twitter, @cordcutters on Twitter. We're looking forward to hearing from you.
And we have one thing coming up that's going to be really exciting. We're going to have a gift guide for the holiday season. So if you have the cord cutter in your family and you haven't found the perfect gift for him or her, we're going to have some good suggestions for that.
And I promise to wear some more funny hats.
All right.